Thank you.
Best avant-garde metal is next.
Okay, right, we live. I think we're back, and we are live with our. Is this the fourth one we've done, or is this the
I think
third?
so. Fourth, I
Number
think.
four, isn't it?
It's the fourth. We've actually managed to keep this up 4 weeks in a row for our live stream with the ADK Rock and Metal live stream, the gatekeepers of metal. So all of you pretenders can fuck off. And that's it. They shut down our live stream. What are we going to talk about today? We have got lots to talk about. We've got all the latest news, gossip within the rock and metal world. I've got some updates and stuff on the channel. We've all got topics, and of course, there's a whole load of new albums out this Friday. So, as always, I like to give you a quick update on a couple of things on from an ADK point of view. So, I mentioned last week on the live stream we were talking about ways of helping out and supporting the channel. I mentioned Patreon. So Patreon is obviously live for anyone that wants to try and help out. And there's a whole load of different ones, but we also have two other things that you can do if you want to get involved in the ADK Rock and Metal channel. The first one is you can sponsor ADK videos. So this is open to bands, brands, etc. You can contact us if you're interested via our adkrockmetal.com website. And these videos will be at the start of all of our kind of discussion reaction videos. So you can basically do a 1 minute video about your band, talk about your band, video of your band, whatever it is, promoting your band, and that would get entered at the start of our videos. So even if we're doing things like Nightwish or something like that, and we're getting 5,000-6,000 views on that video, you will, of course, your video will be at the beginning of that and will help promote your brand, but also support our channel. The second thing we have is membership now. So we have the $4.99 a month membership, which is done through YouTube. So you can become a member of the ADK team and become a gatekeeper of metal. And that's $4.99 through YouTube. And we have our Patreon, which has 4 tiers from general support, t-shirt offers, a new t-shirt every 12 months. You can suggest videos to the channel, or you can even join us on some of these discussions by doing different tiers. So head on over to Patreon. Details are underneath all of our videos. So that's everything about the ways you can support the channel. And I wanted to quickly update. We're almost now complete with our lineups for next year. For our 11 of the 12 shows are now pretty much there or thereabouts, although I'm waiting for Nomadic Rain to just confirm that they can play.
Oh, yeah. Yes. 5 yeses from me, Simon.
There we go. After my rant on Facebook about bands not bloody getting back to me.
September, isn't it? What's the rush? Yeah, we're all available. Looking forward to that.
So these are the bands that have so far, they've either said yes and confirmed, or they are in principle yeses. So they're just checking like the odd deal. So they are pretty much there or thereabouts. I just wanted to give a kind of shout out to who we've got. So we've got in no particular order as far as lineups, we've got Lilith's Army, Heartstrong, Invictus, Hereward, Chaos Principle, Devil Husk, which is the new band from Brighton, which has Joe Lydon.
Oh, wow.
His brand new band.
Right.
So he's on vocals on that band, and they are launching their brand new singles, albums, and their first set of shows at the beginning part of next year. So they're coming up from Brighton for that. Lucid High, Scarlet Envy, In God's Way, Own Your Life, Kadama, By Virtue Fall, Silver Hex, Arrow Valley, Tell Us Scribe, Vicious Nature, Broken States, Before the Sirens, Black Coast, Rituals, Bang Bang Firework, Switchblade City, For the Forsaken.
They play the November show.
Huh?
Bang Bang Fireworks. They play the November show.
They are not.
Oh.
They are playing on June 26th with Switchblade City, For the Forsaken, and Black River Dogs.
Well, actually, a hard rock show straight
That is. We've got Blunt Nose, melodic metalcore, I think. A band called Re-O, which is like regarding like that bit, Re.
Oh, okay.
O. And they are a London-based Japanese core band. So that's going to be an interesting one. War-Torn Wings, Soldiers of Rage, In Winter's Grasp, Vendetta Hardcore UK.
Oh, get in there.
Andy
Oh, yes. There you go. That's one for you, Andy.
Peterborough band, aren't they?
I know the guys from Own Your Life have been prodding them and telling them to get in touch. So that's good news.
I reached out to them and they were up for it. So obviously Nomadic Rain, Aeronaut, Elder Seer, Denali. So that's our Doom Knight, potentially. So Nomadic Rain, Erenor, Elderseer, and Denali on the bill. That could be a good Doom bat. That could be a good Doom Knight. Adele, the Ath, Spectral Dark Wave, the Ingester, 10 Plagues, Balefire, Extreme Death Art, and Must Kill. So that's
you've got small days there, Dave, because there seem like more than 48 bands.
Yeah, that's 44 bands.
Right.
Wow.
So that's 44. Actually, no, that's not 44 bands. That's 42 bands. There are still potentially Sentient who have been offered, but I'm still chasing, and possibly Burdensome.
Good. I was thinking about Burdensome the other day. They've gone quiet.
No, they reached out, but all the bills that I had lined up that they could go on didn't suit. So I've got to have a look at that. And then, of course, we have our December the 18th show next year, which I haven't booked anyone into at this point in time, but I will book that from June onwards, as that will be our Christmas do. And I'm not quite sure how we're going to approach that one yet, but that'll be Christmas party. Woo woo! ADK and Via show. So a few bands in there. We might get a few favorites back over, or etc. There is also a good chance that in June, July time, we will have Kariga over as well, with playing with Lowdown.
I was going to say Dave will be interested in that one in Lowdown.
Dave Runham is sorting out with Kariga, but Kariga have also reached out to me to help organise some of the dates with us doing the 6-6 bar. So we'll probably be putting another 6-6 bar event on for that one, just particularly for that. So
Yeah,
I'll need to
bring them over from Sweden.
Sort that out. So yeah, lots happening. So that's everything I've got. Obviously, the next big live event we've got coming up is on the 5th of December, which is our big Doom night. And 2 weeks after that, we have our classic metal and metalcore night. So Doom, we've got in a House of Heartbeats, Black Skull Ritual, Dread Beggar, and of Concrete Gods. And then for our classic metalcore night, we have Heathen Kings, Tempest Saints, Forged in Black, and Paradise. So they are our final nights for this year. Right, I've talked a lot. I'm going to hand it over to you guys for news. Andy, what we got from you?
News. Not a huge amount. Got some albums, but the only sort of news event that sort of piqued my interest this week was, I think I've talked about on every live that we've done over the last few weeks, and that's Paul Di'Anno. They've the family have announced his actual cause of death, and it's not sort of entirely surprising as to what happened, to be honest. And I've just got to try and find it so I can get the wording right. And it looks like I've lost it, but it was a heart condition, basically.
Yeah.
I think an undiagnosed heart condition. He had multiple sort of health issues anyway. But I don't think sort of heart condition was one of them. And
like ruptured, wasn't it, or something tore?
The sac around the heart, which I don't think is probably the exact medical term, and the exact sort of coroner's report description. But that's what happened. I mean, it's kind of nice to know that it wasn't sort of substance related, which probably a lot of people jumped to the conclusion it could have been. But yeah, still very sad. I'm still, I wouldn't say mourning the event, but I am playing a lot of Early Maiden. I had the I found a playlist on YouTube which sort of came to my attention, which I sort of knew about anyway, which was called the B-sides. The best of the B-sides of Iron Maiden, and the early Di'Anno tracks like Invasion, which was on the Women in Uniform single, and the live version of Drifter. Really enjoyed listening to those today. So yeah. Shout out to Paul Di'Anno yet again.
Yeah, I mean, I read that briefly. I can't remember exactly what the wording was on it, but it was. I thought what was good to know about that, because obviously, like with anyone, when it's something someone or a person who's inspired you, etc., and you hear about someone passing, you don't want to think of anyone suffering. And I think they did say that because of the type of thing that would happen, it would have literally just been.
Yeah. I did. It was sort of instant.
It's almost your body goes into shock, because that's the same thing that happened with my dad when he passed. He had an internal rupture, and they just said he literally wouldn't have known anything. He would have just literally, his body would have shut down, put him to sleep, and then he would have just died and passed from that, because your body goes in shock and can't cope. But But I mean, when I read it, I clicked on it, and I wonder how many people clicked on it to see, like, out of morbid curiosity, if there was something else.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I did. I was like, I wonder if it is drugs. I wonder if there was something else that it was. And then you read it was just a heart thing. I was like, I don't think. In a way, I was almost disappointed that it wasn't as an interesting a story.
Yeah.
Because I actually was going to write that as news, and I was like, I didn't put it as a news story because I was like, and that's sad in a way that it's not now classed as a newsworthy story because it isn't as interesting. But it's, I suppose it's important to know that about it.
Well, the sources I found, there was the usual like blabbermouth.net
Yeah.
things where I actually read, but sort of scrolling down, there was the Guardian and the Independent, sort of the big UK newspapers are also, I mean, they covered the initial reports of his death.
Yeah.
Also, whether it's in the print editions, I don't know, but certainly on their websites about, his actual cause of death, which has now been released.
Well, it's like that with Trevor Sternad, isn't it? So the Black Dahlia murder, when he committed suicide in 2022, we still, now you said morbid curiosity, we don't know how he committed suicide. That's never been revealed. It's just he took his own life. You don't know, was it an overdose of paracetamol? Did he hang himself? Did he shoot himself? I don't think we'll ever know, will we?
But it's like when we had when with passings of people like Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell, and then we had obviously from the pop rock or pop world, we had, was it Liam Payne falling from the balcony? That curiosity about, well, how did he fall? Was he on drugs? Was he? And then that becomes a bigger news story when someone just passes away of a natural cause. They're like, okay, we'll report it, but we're going to move on now because there's not as much interest in it from the news because it's not salacious gossip, if you like.
Yeah.
Whereas people want to come back because they really want to go for it. But it's important that we cover it as well. Any other news? Sorry,
yeah, I've got one other bit that sort of came to me sort of just before we went on air. There's a good term, but I think it follows on from what Kirk's going to talk about with the download lineup. So I'll jump in after that.
Okay, Kirk's got some news then.
Yeah, I'll do the download last then. So first of all, Machine Head have just announced a US tour in 2025, and in support they've got In Flames, Lacuna Coil, and Unearth. Dave, your favorite metalcore band, Unearth. And listen to this, all four have collaborated on a new single called These Scars Won't Define Us, which comes out this Friday. And it's being described as like a Wu-Tang Clan-esque thrash song. So all four vocalists have collaborated on this single. And apparently Machine Head have got a new album in the works, which is due out in April next year, which I don't think they're going to make that deadline. And I'm surprised that they're saying that they've got an album coming out so soon, considering that the last one of Kingdom and Crown only came out in 2023. So, or was it 2022? So I doubt we'll get an album from them next year, even though that's apparently in the pipeline. But what do you think about that? In Flames, gotta say, best days are behind them. Lacuna Coil, best days are behind them. Unearth, never really listened to. I know they get a lot of respect. What do you think of the lineup?
To be honest, they're all in supporting roles, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's not like they're headlining those shows. To be honest, it's interesting because Machine Head have not done a lot of big tours with lots of support bands. They've been rather go out and do their own shows and keep the costs that way and do that their own kind of longer sets, haven't they, historically? So I mean, it's not a bill that's maybe go, oh, that sounds like a really interesting one to go to, because I don't see In Flames, Machine Head, and Lacuna Coil, and who was it, Unearthed?
Unearthed, yeah.
They don't know enough about them. So,
bill, isn't it?
But I look at that and go, I don't understand the mashup of that bill. You look at them and go, they don't naturally all sit comfortably together as you wouldn't go, Machine Head fan would naturally be a Lacuna Coil fan or would naturally be an In Flames fan.
I think with In Flames you would. If anything, you could probably credit In Flames with Machine Head getting their career and their sound back on track. After Supercharger, where they almost ended their career with this album that people wrote off as new metal. And then when you get the rise of In Flames, and they cracked America around that time, they brought back that Iron Maiden element to thrash. And I think Rob Flynn looked at that and it kind of re-energized him and gave him reminded him of his first love, which is heavy metal and thrash metal. So I do understand that one. Lacuna Coil, I mean, this is a United States tour, so it's going ahead in April and May. So they wouldn't be bringing this over to Europe. But yeah, you are right. I think that when they did the main tour of Kingdom and Crown, they actually had a joint joint world tour with Amon Amarth, didn't they? And that kind of put me off because you just said there, I can't see a Lacuna Coil fan or a Machine Head
Yeah.
fan listening to Lacuna Coil. I can, but I didn't want to go and watch Machine Head share the bill with Amon Amarth and alternate each night. And if I'd have gone to the one in London or Manchester, it might have ended up where they weren't even headlining. So it put me off.
I mean, if you'd seen for instance, if you'd seen like Machine Head with Meshuggah, for instance, you'd be like, okay, that makes sense as a lineup for me. Or Machine Head with Gojira, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense as a bill of two bands that have got a similar kind of vibe as far as fan base. So you'd want to see both of those bands on the bill. But I can't see all Machine Heads fans going, oh, Lacuna Coil, I really want to go check them out. So I'm not too sure if it's enough to justify people going to go for that, but maybe they will.
Do you not think, sorry, just before we move on to the next news story, do you not think in the 90s, with the rise of grunge and alternative rock, just look at some of the tours that went ahead where these bands were paired with metal bands. So, for example, Stone Temple Pilots, they actually toured with Megadeth. You wouldn't normally put those two together, would you? And then the one that really stands out for me, do you remember that band, Days of the New?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the singer complaining that the promoters had put him on tour with Metallica rather than the Dave Matthews Band. What the fuck? You would never get that. That just shows you how weird the 90s were in terms of
that's promoter buy-ons. So that's a lot of that is labels just buying onto bills.
I know, but I mean, come on, you should be grateful if you're supporting Metallica, one of the most successful bands of all time. I think that just shows you where.
Yeah, but Days of the New, they don't sound metallic. I mean,
no, it's like an acoustic version of Alice in Chains. But my point is, regardless, I think that just shows you where metal was in the 90s before new metal at least brought it back into the mainstream. So yeah, and there was some really strange, like Korn. I think they one of their first gigs was supporting Sick of It All. The hardcore band. Like what?
I think this is. I mean, one of the things we're seeing now is. I mean, I would say that if you said the Machine Head, Lacuna Coil, In Flames, they are very much of the metallic metal world. So there isn't no non-metal crossover. But if you were to talk when we get to the download thing about the eclecticness of the mix of bands nowadays, and when we talk about download, that's a good example of it. Whereas people we get it in the comments always. And that's why we get this whole gatekeepers of metal tag where people keep calling us this. But they're like, oh no, you've got to broaden your horizons. The horizons are so fucking wide now that it just bleeds all over the place. It's like color by numbers or coloring within the lines, and you're just throwing a tin of paint over the fucking page. You can't really define anything, and everyone loves. Well, a lot of people love the fact that there's no definitions anymore. It just makes it so much fucking harder to find stuff that I actually am wanting to listen to because everyone just keeps throwing all these random groups together and stuff like that, which is what I felt when I looked at the download lineup, which I thought was a bit of an eclectic mix. But anyway, we'll come to download in a minute. What was the next story you had?
Yeah, Nail Bomb. Andy, you remember the band, weren't you? Max Cavalera, Alex Newport of Fudge Tunnel. So they did announce they were doing a one-off reform show back in August. So that took place 4 days ago on the 9th of November in Arizona, because that's where Max Cavalera lives these days. And it was part of they called it the Cavalera Dynasty show. So it was headlined by Soulfly. And then he brought out a lineup to do a Nail Bomb set. And the lineup was Max and his son, Igor Cavalera, and Travis Stone from Pig Destroyer on guitars. And then they had Adam Jarvis, the drummer from Pig Destroyer, and the bassist, Johnny Chow, who's part of Cavalera Conspiracy. So they famously released into that one album in 1994, Point Blank, and then a live album in 1995 called Proud to Commit Commercial Suicide. And everyone assumed that would be the last ever performance. Well, they're actually playing Bloodstock 2025, and they've also been announced for the Alcatraz Festival in Belgium next year. Okay. So yeah, just make it clear though, Alex Newport is not part of the reformed lineup. But did you remember? Did you buy the album back in the day, Andy? Nail Bomb?
No. Simple as that.
I remember seeing it secondhand in a pawn shop, and my friend bought it, and I bought Demanufactured by Fear Factory.
The thing is, you've got to remember
it appeals to me, that particular lot, that collaboration. You know, was that this Alex Newport was in Fudge Tunnel?
Yeah. So this was their industrial metal
Yeah, see,
project.
it wouldn't from that sort of bio and you know the two members combining to make something different from what they would normally do. You know, particularly Max Cavalera, it just didn't appeal to me. I don't think I've heard it, to be honest.
If I remember right from Nailbomb's point of view, it always came across as it was just a bit of a side project thing. It was never taken too seriously, and I don't think they played many shows. I think they only did like 5 or 6 shows, and every
I
time
think it
they
was
played,
Dynamo Festival, wasn't it? That was their meant to be their last one.
but every
That didn't
time they've
happen,
played, they have a different lineup. They've never actually had the same lineup for more than one gig. Because
yeah, they've probably not played more than 10 gigs.
yeah, they literally
yeah.
get together, they'll play a show, and then they'll bugger off for a while, and then they'll cut together at a random time and go, "We'll just play a show again." So that's why it's a bit of an odd thing. It's
First
not
one
something
since
I've ever taken
1995.
seriously.
Yeah. It's but I was surprised that I missed that back in August. And I say it's recent. They played it. It's on YouTube. Go and watch it.
Yeah.
If you want to see the set. Before we get to download, just one more. I know we all like to criticize it and laugh at it, to be honest, because these people don't really know what they're talking about. The best metal performance at the 2025 Grammys was announced 5 days ago on the 8th of November. The nominees, do you want me to read them out to you?
Go for it.
Please do.
First of all, Gojira's performance at the Olympic opening ceremony, Mea Culpa. Judas Priest, the song Crown of Horns.
Right.
Another one, which we have actually covered on this channel, Knocked Loose, featuring Poppy, the song Suffocate. So you've got something contemporary in there. Metallica, Screaming Suicide. You had to put Metallica in. And Spirit Box, Celador.
Yeah.
So we have got 2 contemporary bands in there, which for the Grammys is unusual because I think over the last few years, one of the more modern bands to win it has been Deftones, who released the first album in 1995. You know, they just don't really know that as an industry. They don't really know what they're talking about. What do you think about that, though, if we take out Metallica and Judas Priest?
It's the Grammys. I mean, we don't expect them to know much about metal or rock. I mean, there were other bands, so Rolling Stones, Black Crowes, Pearl Jam, and Green Day were also in the Grammys in nominations for things this year as well. And you're like, I mean, that apart from the things maybe Knocked Loose featuring Poppy and Spirit Box, you look at that and go, okay, this is from the 90s, isn't it? This is basically a 90s Grammys nomination.
Well, Judas Priest. I mean, look at that. I mean,
they haven't really got a clue. Wasn't the Grammys also the one where? Was it in this one where Jethro Tull got the best metal album?
You're right. The first ever best metal performance was in 1989, and Jethro Tull
beat Metallica. Yeah. That's how good the Grammys are at getting this right.
Jethro Tull.
And they obviously, wasn't it like 2 years later or a year later when Metallica won it that Lars went, well, the first thing we have to do is thank Jethro Tull for not putting an album out this year.
Yeah.
I think that was for the Black album when they got that for that one. But yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's good that I guess it's good it's got a category, but I don't think any metal fan really takes it too seriously. They're more inclined to like when you get something like a Metal Hammer Awards show or something like that, they know it's being judged by people that actually listen to music from the rock metal genre. If Metallica could just basically go out, have diarrhea over a snare drum, and they'd fucking get nominated for it. It's fine. Metallica are always going to be there. I mean the last album sounds like that. To be honest,
it is an improvement on the last few years. I mean, Periphery were nominated in 2018 along with Megadeth and Gojira, and Megadeth won it. But normally it is just the big industry names, you know, that have been around for decades. So to have Spirit Box and Knocked Loose in there, who obviously are a hardcore band, Knocked Loose, aren't they? That is an improvement on what it's been over the years. So,
but it's because of Poppy.
Yeah,
it ain't because of Knocked Loose. It's because of the
Gojira Olympic performance. I mean, it was a monumental moment for metal, wasn't it? But
it was good.
Grammy performance, Grammy Award nominee.
Judas Priest song's good. That's a good album.
Yeah, is it? Yeah, it got good ratings. That Suffocate, Crown of Horns. Yeah.
What's the lot? Is it now download time?
Yeah. So, do you want to? If you've got it there, it's up to you. I can go through some of the names.
There's a lot of names in there. I guess. Is there anything that? I mean, apart from obviously your three main headliners, Green Day, Sleep Token, and Corn.
Well, should we start there then? Maybe start there because we always talk about quality of headliners.
I mean, it makes sense to me. It's great to see Corn finally getting a headline because normally they get the main support for the headline. I think this is the first time they've ever done it because it's usually Metallica that gets it. So it's good to see that. Green Day, Sleep Token will put on a good show for it, and probably I'm not sure if it's right that they. Actually, I suppose it is right. They've done the work. They've put in the work in the show. So, yeah, give them the headline, I guess. It's some of the bands underneath it though that I'm a bit like, huh? Are you sure this isn't Reading that we're talking about? The Reading Festival, the Leeds Festival here.
What the fuck is McFly doing on the bill?
McFly, Weezer. Weezer played the freaking Hartford Corn Exchange last year.
No, they didn't. Weezer.
Oh, someone did anyway.
It definitely wasn't
They
Weezer.
played a small. They played it. They must have played a small venue.
Oh, they were multi-platinum bands.
I didn't even know Weezer was still going. Really?
What have they done apart from that Buddy Holly song?
Oh, do you remember they had a resurgence in the early 2000s on MTV too?
I don't.
Yeah, early 2000s. It's that's 20 years ago.
No, they've done like 5 or 6 albums since then. Everyone says that they just are never going to write anything as good as that 1996 album.
Jimmy Eats World. Everyone all knows. The only song we know is The Middle. That's the only song anyone knows.
People know that other one where he mentions asphalt in the title. Can't remember. Well, I can't remember the title of it, but
the Sex Pistols, for fuck's sake. Really?
With Frank Carter.
Yeah.
Who's Don Broco?
I don't know that band.
Yeah. I know the name. I couldn't tell you what music it is. We should know that, shouldn't we? Steel Panther. Sixth they're on there. What, Sixth.
Yeah. The
Darkness.
Darkness.
Say that they influenced Gent.
I mean, it's what's really eclectic about it is you talk about these bands, you go Weezer, The Darkness, Cradle of Filth, Lorna Shore.
I know. What the fuck?
What? If I went and watched Weezer and then Lorna Shore comes on afterwards, talk about two different crowd pullers.
Yeah. I mean, Apocalypticas, that's good to have them on. Andy, do you remember when we were talking and we famously said Testament, they never headline, but you always get the same bands.
Yeah.
So we have actually got a repeat of what I was saying doesn't happen anymore. Remember in the 90s, we'd have like Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins headlining Reading, and they had 2 albums out because they were massive. We've actually got that with Sleep Token, a band who've only released 1 album. Sorry, I think it's 2 albums. And they're headlining, and that's good to see, isn't it? Rather than just, have you done your 30 years of service?
Okay, there is one thing I would say is we don't know what stages these are set on.
Yeah, no, they're the 3 the only thing we know are they're the 3 headliners.
Because if you have, for instance, Weezer, Jimmy Eat World, McFly, and some of the other guys all on like an alternative rock stage at Download, makes sense.
Put them on with Green Day.
If you want to go watch that, that's fine. But if you have Weezer followed by Cradle of Filth on a stage, you're going to be scratching your head going, what the fuck is happening?
Mm.
You're going to have this tidal wave of people moving through the venues trying to get out of the fucking way.
I think Weezer and Jimmy Eat World and Sex Pistols with Frank Carter and McFly will go on the Green Day day. Sorry, I had to repeat the word day there. It's hard to think. I mean, you could Spirit Box, Bullet for My Valentine, Within Temptation, you're Sixth. They're all going to go on with Korn, aren't they? Where are they going to put Cradle of Filth and Lorna Shore, though? Are they going to be on the day when Sleep Token headline? Probably will, because
possibly
wear masks.
But here's the thing I don't get, though. So you've got these guys up further on the bill. So you've got the Darkness, McFly, that sort of stuff further up. Lower on the bill, Ginger.
I know.
Meshuggah.
Yeah, I mean, have you noticed how Meshuggah and not even
Jerry Cantrell? I'm like
Jerry Cantrell, yeah.
I mean, basically, you've got Ginger and Kitty and Meshuggah on the same level at Filter, Silosis as well. And I'm like, okay, I kind of get the Silosis kind of moving up.
Yeah.
Poppy's there, but surely Ginger and Meshuggah have done enough. They should be further up there.
Yeah, Meshuggah especially. I mean, Jerry Cantrell, all right, because he's obviously, it's not Alice in Chains. You've got some old names on there. Remember that punk band, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes?
Yeah.
Notice they're on. Alien Ant Farm. I didn't even know they were still together.
Yeah, they got a new album out. It's a weird mix. I think I'm in 2 minds. We have said before about seeing the same stuff on the same festivals all the time, so I can't really complain now that the fact that the festival lineup is so eclectic. Because there's a lot of names I haven't heard of before. When I went lower down on the bill, I'm like, I don't know half these bands. So, but it's a good mix. I just want to know this. I think once we know what the stage lineups look like, it'll probably make a lot more sense. But right now, it's a bit of like there's a bit of rock or a bit of metal for everyone there. So could be interesting. And there's still more bands to be announced. So
yeah. But they need to make it easy for the punters, don't they? Like we've described, you don't want Cradle of Filth followed by Weezer,
yeah,
and then headlined by Green Day. Do you want to sort of, as you say, have the rock, have the alternative, have this extreme metal, kind of separated throughout the weekend or whatever it is.
Should make a lot more sense then. But
have you seen the lineup? If you compare the headline to Bloodstock, that is the first day is Trivium with Emperor supporting. The second day is Machine Head with Lacuna Coil, what we were talking about. And then the last day is Gojira with Lord of the Lost supporting.
Okay.
So that caters more for the extreme metal or heavier audience, doesn't it? Don't get me wrong, you got some heavy bands obviously at Download as well, because it's rock and metal, whereas this is more like your Metal Hammer type crowd, isn't it?
Cool. Andy, you had to think about, you wanted to tag on to the end of this.
Yeah, we mentioned Alien Ant Farm. CKY, which is a band I've heard of. I can picture the logo, but I've absolutely no idea who's in it, what they're like. But they're touring together. But because Chad from CKY, and this is the quote from Alien Ant Farm, hasn't figured out how to cohabit with others after all these years, they've been kicked off the rest of the UK shows. But I assume they'll both be playing Download, but kept apart because this Chad fella punched a member of Alien Ant Farm in the face.
Yeah, Dryden. He punched Dryden, the vocalist, in the face.
So that sort of is a spin-off from the Download info, which I saw just an hour or so ago, which I thought was quite funny.
He says it's self-defense, though. He said it was self-defense.
Has this Chad got a history of being a dick, whoever he may be? Who is CKY? Just fill me in, because I know the name.
They're like a band from the skater scene, but they play progressive metal.
Yeah.
Like, Jellard and the boys, the scene here that they're all into them, aren't they? So yeah, the skateboarders who play progressive metal. Remember Bam Margera from Jackass?
Yeah.
He kind of brought them to wider attention as well on that show. But yeah,
basically, this guy is just Chad's felt threatened when he was challenged about his behavior, and he's punched Dryden Mitchell in the face because it out of a way of self-defense, apparently.
Life on the road.
Yeah, probably drunk. I reckon there was probably drink related to that as well, because most likely. Okay, any other news?
No.
The only other thing I had, because you guys have both recovered a few of the things I had already in there, was I read one of the things was Pete Townsend from The Who has said that Rick Rubin needs a slap, which I thought was a brilliant headline. So Rick Rubin, obviously a great producer, has been involved with many, many, many bands. Has been hugely influential, especially within the sort of the Roadrunner-esque bands and new metal bands and stuff like that. But it was on a podcast that Pete Townsend was on, who basically was talking about the creative process and singled out Rick Rubin for conflicting messages regarding songwriting, because he basically said, you see a lot of stuff on YouTube and Instagram and people nagging you about the way that you have to be creative. Someone needs to occasionally slap Rick Rubin, because he's 1 minute he's telling you that we need to do it this way, and then on the next one he's telling you need to do it the other way, which contradicts what you just bloody said. So I thought that was quite funny, because it seems a bit confrontational, but I like the idea of just going up and just giving him a slap. That was all, really. I just thought that was a funny little story from Pete Townsend there. I didn't even know Pete Townsend even knew who the hell Rick Rubin was, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I'm sure that Rick Rubin will probably be aware that Pete Townsend was infamously found with child pornography on his computer, though, in the late 1990s.
Oh, there you go.
And was cleared of it, but that's going to linger, isn't it?
But it is now. You just brought it up again.
Yeah.
There's a shorts. That's going to be a shorts one.
Don't put that one in as a short.
Okay, should we talk about album releases then? Let's wrap this one for today. So, Andy, what's your album or albums that you think, you're looking forward to this week?
I look through these lists, and I'm not seeing anything that's going to appeal to me. There's no big band name because I'd probably know about them anyway in beforehand. But there's a couple. I apologise if I've pronounced the name wrong, but there's a French funeral doom band called Monolithe or Monolive, Monolithe. They've got a new album out this Friday. They've been around since 2003. I've got their first two albums. They sort of started this sort of trend in funeral doom with having one track per album, which equates to like 50 minutes, which is what the two albums I've got.
Can you just repeat that for Dave, please? Because it's so funny. What they started the trend of one-track albums.
Well, they've bucked that trend with the latest one, but you know, they're imaginatively titled the first four albums Monolith 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, but they've actually sort of got a new album out on Hammerheart Records called Black Hole District. It's their 9th, and whether this is just a very lazy sort of post regarding the tracks that were on this album, but there are 10 tracks, and they're sort of alternate at 5 or 10 minutes and 5 or 1 minute long. So you got a 10-minute song with a 1 minute song, and they're exactly that. And I
still have interlude. They're interludes, aren't they?
Yeah, it rounds out at 55 minutes. Now, whether that's lazy journalism or if that's the actual structure of the album, I'd like to hope it's the latter, because that's quite innovative and sort of unique and something I've not seen before. So that's out this Friday. Funeral Doom. I probably won't check that one out, but I will certainly dig out my old CDs from the first two albums and give them a spin.
Right.
That's
okay.
French Funeral Doom. Dave would love that.
I love that so much.
A bit more contemporary and a bit more sort of in the mainstream. Iron Maiden is the 40th anniversary of Power Slave, their 1984 album, and there's a sort of special vinyl release or re-release. It took a bit of digging, but I couldn't find anything that was initially what was special about this. What was whether it was remastered or double vinyl or extra artwork. But I did find some information about it, and it's Kirk. You're the lexicon of the English language. Zoetrope. Am I saying that right?
I think so.
Yeah, it's a zoetrope vinyl version of this album. Now, what that means is, and I have watched a little clip of what it is. There's images on. It's like a picture disc. There's images on the, in concentric circles on the disc that, when it's spun, form a pattern in an image. So that's what that particular description of this vinyl album is, and that's what's being released this Friday. Prices I've seen online for pre-sales sort of range from about 25 to 40 quid. So
fuck off.
Yeah, that's what vinyls are.
You going to be investing for your collection?
Probably not. No.
Hang on, it's just the same album on a new vinyl which has got pictures on it.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
To give you something to look at for about 5 seconds before you get
anniversary edition.
So they're going to sit there looking over the top of your record player like that. Going,
not for long though, because I've seen the clip and it's like, I was disappointed, and I'm just watching a brief video about it. But
I mean, I was wondering if it was going to be something like what Paradise Lost did, because they didn't own the rights to it. So maybe they re-record it. But if it's just the case of it's just a remastered reissue, then I'm like, and with I almost get annoyed even more when they go, "Oh no, we've added a load of live from a live concert to the end of it." I'm like, I don't give a shit. The live stuff doesn't sound great anyway. So I want new unreleased material. Show me some of the demos of stuff, or put something interesting that's not been released before.
That's what I like about re-releases.
Add value.
The Death albums, they come in some are like 3-disc editions, but you've got alternate versions, you've got demos, you've got four track recordings that Chuck's done without vocals, and it's really, really interesting. But like I said, there's nothing special about this other than it's sort of like a landmark anniversary of its release, 40 years. But apart from the supposedly interesting visuals that you're going to get when you spin it, doesn't seem that appealing to me. But I'm sure
bit of a cash grab then, basically.
Yeah, it'll sell by the bucket loads. I'm absolutely sure.
I think, to be honest, they would have been probably. I'm kind of glad I haven't seen it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it comes. Like some reissues of Iron Maiden or Killers on vinyl.
Oh, you're being cynical. Being cynical.
Yeah, I
Oh,
might
Rush them
I
out.
might be interested in those, but yeah, Live
that
After Death is
because of
coming up.
it's topical. It's basically people are talking about early Iron Maiden again.
Yeah, Live After Death is coming out in this format as well soon. I think I read as well.
Can't stand all of that, but anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, what
One
else you
more,
got?
one more. It's not an album I looked into, but it just jumped out of the list because it's got a fantastic name, Nucleosaurus Rex.
What's the album title?
Don't know, but it's not that funny. But they're a one man crossover thrash band singing about shenanigans and things that tick me off. So it's sort of like a comedy band, one man project, probably quite entertaining. Reminds me of a band I come across recently called Chopping Mall, and it was a guy who appears to be a forest park ranger in America, and there's songs about various animals that live in the forest and what they do to humans and visitors to the forest. So I'm sure Nucleosaurus Rex are in the same vein as that. But yeah, again, I'm looking forward to when I look forward, in the calendar of releases, there's going to be some that I'm going to, really look forward to and take off the list and talk to you about. But they're mine for this week.
That's yours. Okay, go for it. Kirk, what you got?
Yeah, I'll do so I always choose three. First one that stands out for me, one of my favorite contemporary metal artists, Thy Catafalque from Hungary. So it's the solo project of Tomasz Katoy, the Sound to Season of Mist, Thy Catafalque.
Like
And it's
Catafalque.
album number 12, and it's called 12, and then something in Hungarian that I cannot pronounce. I Gyonyuru Almuk Ezutan Yonek.
Good effort, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I thought you were doing some sort of like Harry Potter chant there for like Hakuna to Matala,
So this is avant-garde metal.
Spelliamus.
Avant-garde metal that's really much in the vein of Into the Pandemonium by Celtic Frost and even Edge of Sanity. It's just so many genres mixed together. But I enjoyed their album last year, Alfold, and then the 2021 album, Vadak. And I was fortunate enough to interview Tomasz Katoy for that album. Do you know that he actually briefly lived in Scotland and worked for the NHS as well?
I did.
What's the style of music, Kirk? Because it's a great name for a band.
Yeah, it experimental metal. So it's extreme metal, but you'll have elements of like trip hop, jazz, folk, symphonic, anything. But it's one of those where
That's a shame because
no, it feels really coherent. There's a lot of extreme metal in there. His background is really experimental black metal. So yeah, big fan of his work. This next one you'll be interested in, Andy. They're a band that Jimmy Long from our friends in Orm, ex Everest Queen and Denali, he likes. They're called Still. They're from Hull, and the album's called A Theft, atmospheric post metal. They were formerly on Trepanation Recordings. So this is their sophomore album. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It was actually recorded and mixed by Joe Clayton in Manchester at No Studio. He's the go-to producer for this type of music. You'll know him from that band Pen. And some of the bands we like have all recorded there. But I remember Jimmy saying when he heard it, it felt like being buried alive, is how he described that first album. And I gave it an 8 out of 10 review, really enjoyed it.
yeah,
Probably will be interviewing them as well.
I think they've played at Red Lion and Stevenage. I'm sure I've seen them on one of Jordan's bills there on a very extreme doom night. But yeah, certainly the name, I'm pretty sure I saw him. Yeah.
Bit of a cult band after that debut album. And the third one, a band from Northampton that are signed to Periphery's label, 3 Dot Recordings. They're called Obeya, and the album's called Chemical Well. And it's their debut album. They actually did release some music under another band name. They were formerly called Lay Siege, and they released an EP and an album and got some attention from Kerrang and Metal Hammer and even The Guardian, I believe. But yeah, that'll be progressive metalcore. And as I said, it had been signed to Periphery's label, so that piques my interest. And then finally, the 2 honorable mentions: a progressive post-metal band from France called Septaria, their album Astar. It's on a really good label called Clonosphere Records. So anything that they release, I normally give a shout out to. And then you'll like this one, Andy. We're talking about band names. You ready for this? Sly and the Family Drone. And even better, the album title, Moon is Doom backwards. Avant-garde dark metal from England. They're on the same label as that Bristol sludge metal band Torpor. The label's called Human Worth. So yeah, I'll just repeat: Sly and the Family Drone, and the album is called Moon is Doom backwards.
Okay.
It's not though.
I'm going to do a very quick rundown of the ones I kind of picked out as far as I'm intrigued to check out this week. So obviously we have As I Lay Dying and Through Storms Ahead drops this week. So very topical at the moment, and he's definitely going through storms ahead. And he will be in spring festival season. He's putting a new lineup of the band together. So I'll be interested to see how the album actually sounds. We've got Linkin Park is dropping a new album from Zero as well Friday, which is a massive album drop.
That's a big event in the industry.
That's a huge album. That will go #1 straight off. And it will stay there for a while. So I think that's gonna be a very good one to have a look at. And a couple of other ones I am intrigued. Poppy is dropping an album called Negative Spaces. And the amount of times that she's appeared within metal realms like Knocked Loose with the Grammy Award nomination, I'm actually intrigued to hear a whole album and see what it's all about. Less Than Jake, a band that's been around for a very long time. I've got an album called Uncharted coming out. And I remember these guys from the 90s. At the same time as you had bands like Dog Eat Dog, they'd appear on the bill. They were punk.
Were they like a ska? Did they have a bit of ska in them as well?
A bit of ska in there as well. So I'm intrigued to hear what they've got. Empires of Eden, I've got an album called Guardians of Time. They are a power metal band. So yeah, interested in them. And finally, Voodoo Circle, I've got an album called Hail to the King. They're a German hard rock band that I am intrigued. So these are the albums that are going to basically drop on Friday that I'm going to go check out because I want to hear. And I've also just been sent the new Hanabi album, which drops on the 14th of December. So I'm going to be reviewing that for the channel. I'm intrigued to see what that one's all about. So yeah, lots to check out. And that's it for this week. So for those that joined us on the live stream, thank you for joining. For those that are watching on catch up, thank you very much for watching. And yeah, we'll see you next week on next Wednesday for another update of random bollocks that we find online. See you later.
I didn't have YouTube on my phone, so I've no idea how many tuned in this week.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.